Welcome, everybody, to the Hustle Culture Podcast, where we profile entrepreneurs as they hustle their way to the top and go through the climb. Today, our guest is Matt Chambers. And before we get to our guests, Carlos and I are going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be breaking down the show into segments from now on. The first segment would be the weekly grind, where Carlos and I will talk about what we did from the previous week and the goals we tried to achieve. And then we'll dive into the interview. And then we'll close out with the Hustler Spotlight, where we highlight one or two people who we feel like were really grinding and hustling out in the previous week. So, Los.
What's happening, hustlers? Hope everyone out there had an amazing week. And I first want to say thank you to everyone that has left a review for the Hustle Culture Podcast on iTunes. We went up on iTunes this week. So I actually want to kick it off and say, I think that's what we should really celebrate for the weekly grind, for our new segment that's going to kick off this show. You know, Tayo, as you know, my man, because you've been doing this for a while in the podcast game, it is work getting a podcast on iTunes. And for those that might just be tuning in to the Hustle Culture Podcast for the first time, Tayo and I, we've been recording now for a little over a month, and we had several interviews with guests for the last 4 weeks or so. We use Blab to record. We've been taking that audio, putting it onto YouTube as videos. But, the whole process, it's work like anything else. So it's awesome to see our product now on iTunes as a subscribable, downloadable, reviewable show. So, Tayo, I actually want to tip my hat to you for going ahead and helping to make this happen.
Hey, no, I mean, that's been the hustle, and I'm tipping my hat back right to you. But it's like you said, I've been podcasting for about a year and a half now. I do have another podcast, which is, as told by nomads. But to a good question, Scott, the mission of the podcast is really to highlight entrepreneurs and everyday businessmen and women as they're going through the climb. We feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of the content out there about entrepreneurs, it's usually about the success stories. So we want to have people highlight the good and the bad, and really want to hone in on what the hard work really takes, because we don't want it to look like everyone's an overnight success. So part of our hustle this week was to make sure we were on Stitcher, we were on iTunes, and we were on TuneIn. So we did that, and then the next thing was, like you said, Carlos, it is a hard thing. I remember when I was first launching my other podcast, it was to get reviews, because you got to get reviews, you got to get your downloads up, you got to get as many people as you can to know about the podcast. And it is work, because you have to remind people to do this. You got to continually tweet. You got to send this to someone else. You got to make sure, the guests are ready. So on my end, my hustle was making sure I got Matt's questions ready, and then making sure the podcast was just at least ready to be viewed in iTunes. So we're up to 8 reviews now, but guys, I know we have 11 people on here right now. So that can easily be 19 by the end of the day. It's just a hint. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, we're hustling to make this happen. And we're really looking forward to building out the Hustle Culture brand.
Right.
And there's a lot that we're working on that we are really looking forward to sharing with our audience as we move this venture along. And I tell you, one of the coolest things of having a podcast on iTunes, it's almost like the feeling of hearing your song being played on the radio for the first time, or having your CD sold at Sam Goody, right, back in the day. And it was just like that, seeing like this product is actually out there on the market, and now it can be downloaded. And immediately, once those jitters wear off, you just go into hustle mode. You start promoting. You start, like Tayo said, telling everyone that that you have this product, and please check it out and leave an honest and sincere review of what you think about it. So outside of that, Tayo, I know it was a busy week with the podcast, and obviously with Matt here coming up, but what else did you work on?
Well, a milestone that I was celebrating, because my other podcast, which has been on for almost 100 episodes, as told by nomads, it's still really doing well on iTunes. So I was on there, and I was looking at the charts, and we were ranking high in our category. So I was like, it felt good when you put in the long years of work to really putting in your passion, So I felt like it's still weird for me when I see that people are listening in like 109 or 110 countries. It's like the weirdest thing because you said it's like you're putting your CD out there. You go to iTunes and you see yourself. You're like, what, me? So yeah. So the grind, it felt like that was actually paying off, and for it to still be ranking, that was something that I did. The other thing I feel like entrepreneurs don't take enough time to do is to celebrate successes, and people have told me that a lot of times. So I tried it this week, and I went on iTunes. I saw my my podcast there. I was like, all right, I'll take the time to celebrate instead of going too quickly. So that's something that I felt like was a result of the hustle. So.
Awesome, man. Yeah, on my end, I did a lot of networking this week. And for those out there that know me, or if you don't know me very well, I am like a walking, talking, living LinkedIn.
And
Snapchat, right? But this week in San Francisco, there was a TED conference. And it was my first time attending a TED Talk. And I honestly didn't know what to expect. I was invited as a social media influencer by IBM to go out and tweet and share the experience. And I honestly thought that it was going to be social media and marketing focused talks that were being given. And I had no idea when I got there that I was going to walk away just so mind blown and awe-inspired. I'm going to share with you about one of the speakers. She's blind, and she has made it possible for the blind to actually use the internet. And it was just crazy hearing this woman, talking about how she has not let her disability deny her access to the world through the internet. And I tell you, when you hear stories, I'm getting goosebumps even talking about it right now. When you hear these types of stories, it makes you take a step back and really think, why am I complaining if something doesn't go a certain way, or if I don't close a certain deal? There are so many people out there that are not letting adversity get in their way of realizing their dreams. And that really touched me and honestly really hyped me up for this week's episode. And, closing note is, by going to this event, I had an opportunity to meet a lot of folks in person that I've been connected to on social media for quite some time. And, you know this about me, Tayo, because I reached out to you when I was in New York earlier this year. Anytime I have an opportunity to go ahead and connect with individuals and take that conversation offline, it's one that I don't pass up. So that was my hustle for this week. It was turning online relationships.
And before we go into Matt, you were at TED.IBM. I'll tell you a crazy story. The author of this book is a good friend of mine. He celebrated his birthday yesterday. He was actually one of the speakers, Jared Kleinert. Yes, he's a very, very he's a very, very good friend of mine. I was at his birthday party yesterday. He took the red eye at TED, but he was telling me he's a TEDx speaker, but now he's a TED speaker. So he's a great story. He's 20 years old, but he's an author. He's a business guy, amazing hustler. But Roberto and I know, we went to a conference together. We both good friends with him. So he's a good guy to know. I'm glad you were there.
Well, let's see if we can bring Jared on the podcast.
Now that we're done with the weekly grind, we gotta. I think we've kept our guests waiting long enough.
Yeah,
right?
No.
So I'm gonna tell you guys a little something about my story with Matt and the hustle. So when I first got out of college, my first job was a sales job. I was a salesman at a software company. Even though I didn't originally go there to be a sales guy, I went there to help them with their social media and digital media. But as is with every small company, you have to do everything. And, they gave me this stack of clients to close, and I was supposed to make $10,000 a month. Didn't have any previous experience with sales, so I was freaking out. Like, what am I doing? I just got out of college, and now you tell me I have to sell this. So, so lo and behold, I started doing some research, and Matt at the time was working with Qualvu. And I was like, okay, training, I'm doing e-learning, I'm selling training materials. Let's see if I can close him. And then we sort of built a relationship from then. And, I've since moved on, and he's also since moved on, but we've kept in touch since then. But with that being said, though, I want you, Matt, to describe your hustler's journey and basically tell the audience how you got started.
Thank you very much. First of all, appreciate you guys having me. You guys had some, pretty incredible guests so far, and everyone's been really inspiring. So appreciate you bringing me on. I thought a little bit about my hustle journey and getting here. Obviously I have a pretty long background, and most startups talk about the back of a napkin, and, that's where people think your journey starts. But it starts your hustle starts years before that. I think looking back, mine started in college. It's really my whole life I was an athlete. So, academics came pretty easy for me. Just playing sports, that's where I put my passion and my heart and soul into. First time I got to college, for the first time, I suddenly got really passionate about business, and the courses I liked the most were entrepreneurship. So pretty soon, sports kind of took a back seat, and I started, devouring anything I could get about technology or entrepreneurship. Actually, probably talk a little bit about later, but writing my first business plan. Back then when I was in school, they still actually teach you to go and write a traditional business plan, which is just garbage. There was no such thing as lean startup methodology, which is crazy. Right. That's just the way the world works now. Who would ever spend time writing a 200-page PowerPoint deck that'll change in the first week? But anyway, so yeah, I got really passionate about business. I started becoming, a total business geek. And, I left college actually a little bit early. I redshirted my freshman year in soccer, and I had the chance to come back. I was actually captain, and my coaches were like, "Are you kidding me? You're going to leave and go home early?" I had to get started in business and find my purpose and passion in life. So yeah, I got back to Colorado. It took me a little while to figure out my purpose, but I started talking to tech entrepreneurs at the time. I didn't even know what tech startups were. But these three founders, I actually met them, and I started interviewing with them. They made me a job offer, and you can get your PhD in entrepreneurship on someone else's dime. So it was a dream come true. It was a good opportunity. And, from then on out, I just put the pedal down and have never stopped.
So Matt, you started a company by the name of Loxo. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your company and what it is exactly that you do, and why is the service that you provide through your company
great question.
So
for
Loxo is that you're trying to reach?
Within the top three key challenges of any organization, across every boardroom, is talent, finding talent, right? It's people who drive business, and that's who build organizations and success. So it's a massive, massive problem. And I'll talk a little bit about the market size and all that, but it's a huge opportunity. Currently, the only innovation and platforms on the market, most of the old school recruiting platforms were built in the 80s and 90s. So we saw a good opportunity in the market, create some disruption in terms of modernizing the space. But there's also a huge shift in a lot of different things, such as machine learning and big data that come from me and my co-founders' background, that we can bring into a space and really look out for the next generation of identifying talent and matching it with companies.
No, and that's so interesting. So I guess to give the audience a better background of how you got there, I wanted to take it back to the first company when the three founders got to you, and then you sort of became one of those first employees and entrepreneurs, I guess, in the company. You were looking for your passion. You were looking for your what you were passionate about, and you knew that startup was this thing that maybe you wanted to do, and you had a journey. Can you talk about that journey, being that first employer or one of the first few employers, and then deciding like, I got to do this. This is a problem I'm really seeing, and I need to launch Loxo.
Yeah. So it's funny too that I think as an entrepreneur, you have, no matter what, you have this fire inside you. You just know it's there. You're not really quite sure when to let it out, or you have to find your passion. If you're like me, I'm all or nothing. And once you find it and you can focus it like a laser, you can direct that. And just finding that passion is a really hard, painful thing. Being with those three founders, and I even went in and told the CEO, I said, one day I want to start my own company. And for me, I never want to let myself down. I never want to let my future and current employees down, my team members, customers, so I take that responsibility very seriously. So I feel like I had to prepare myself to get in that position. So getting around them, and it was more about learning. I didn't care what my title was. I really didn't care what my role was. Every day I would just come in and I would create as much possible value. And I think at the time I was probably 24, 25. And I would sit there and I would expect the executives to come and say, hey, Matt, here's your task of what we need you to do this week to create value. For anyone who's worked in a startup, and everyone on the show can relate to, is there's no answer. You're constantly, if you're in a big enough space, you're disrupting it. You have to come up with the answer. You have to drive more sales. You have to figure out customer development. You have to figure out different channels. So it's, it's really up to you to learn as much as you possibly can. And that's just kind of what I focused on. And it wasn't about hustle. It wasn't about making money to me. It was about preparing myself for when I got to launching Loxo. So go ahead.
No. I didn't want to break the flow because the thing I really loved about what you're saying and the point you're making is you said you saw an opportunity to get your PhD, right, from 3 founders. And it's such a beautiful way to put that picture, is because you basically said you're getting educated at an early age in the startup culture. And you had told yourself that this is going to be something that the tools you're getting from here are something that you're going to use inevitably later in life. I think it's such a great idea to have, especially when you know that you have that fire in you, like you said. And I kind of wanted you to continue on that, down that path, is like you said, you wear many hats, you're learning from these people, and back inside in the back of your head that you're going to start your own thing. And I think Carlos shares the same thing with you. He's always telling me that I'm seeing all these jobs as my learning building blocks for what I'm going to do in the future. That's why I'm smiling on that. That's why I'm smiling there.
It's the real, when I say the real MBA is the one that you get when you're actually out working. And, Tyler knows this. I've said it on the show a couple times already. I didn't go to college, yet I've also owned a business like you, Matt, a startup. And I also have many years under my belt working in corporate America without a college degree. And I tell you, the real education, the real MBA is what you learn on the job, and also the people that you surround yourself with. So, hats off to you. I definitely agree that if you surround yourself with 3 very successful entrepreneurs, that's why
I wanted you to go down that path, because I imagine there are many stories. I mean, you're 24, 20, 25, 26, and you're like, okay, this is something I want to do. I know I want to do it. So, why don't you just tell us more about that time? Because it's fascinating to me, and I love that idea.
Kind of, you always, going back to having that fire inside, I think if you do not have that fire, you're going to burn out and hit brick walls, and you're not going to be able to sustain that. So you have to be tenacious. But around that time, I still don't think I had the confidence to say, I'm going to jump off and be a quote unquote, CEO and lead a company. And again, the title doesn't matter, but you take that responsibility of leading your business and customers seriously. So I would literally work until 9 or 10 at night, like Monday through Friday. And I was reading books all the time. So when I was doing sales, I started reading every sales book. When I was in management, I would go home and I'd research on Amazon the top 10 management books, and I'd read all those. Then my CEO said, you have to focus on leadership. Same thing. So it was really nice. I got pretty much, again, like the PhD in real time, learning about tech startups, and I was just voracious about it. I couldn't get enough. And I don't know what point in time it was, but I'd look around and I started going up to like Techstars meetups in Boulder. And I was like talking about startups to everyone, and everyone talks about startups and no one actually does it. And all of a sudden, just from all this learning and knowledge, I felt like I could connect the dots and see vision that I thought these answers were obvious to everyone, and they weren't. They're like, how do you know that? And like 6 months later, they would implement what I was telling them to do. So I just, pattern recognition, consistency, and just pushing. So I finally felt it was either time to just shit or get off the pot, really, for me. And I people that called me out and said, Matt, you're going to get married, you're going to have kids, you can't do this. So take the leap, build it, build your wings on the way down, and it'll either happen or you'll learn a lot and you'll be ready for the next thing.
Yeah, Matt, I love how you said that everyone talks about startups, but then they don't actually do it. So what do you think holds the average Joe that has high aspiration back from
I don't think the average Joe will start a startup. I know that.
That's such a good point.
So yeah, there's no way that
that's real talk.
I mean, I think if you have a fear, there's 2 fears really. Obviously there's financial for everybody. You need to pay your bills. that was a huge impediment for me. The other one, really, I think what holds most people back is public failure, failing in front of your peers and your family. And that's an ego thing, really. The hardest thing once I did take the leap is actually you think the people closest to you are going to be your biggest supporters. They actually, your friends and family, like close circle, they'll be there. But anyone else, I don't want to associate until they're successful. And as soon as you start getting really successful, everybody comes running back out of the woodwork and wants to meet you for lunch and coffee and introduce you to the, so-and-so. So it's interesting about how that transition kind of evolves.
Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and kind of stay on this. So, talking about fear of starting a company, right? As you went through your journey and your climb, at what point, if any, was some of that fear instilled?
Prior to starting or like post or both?
Either prior or stirring, because we know that, there's that excitement when you start a business. Once you actually say, I'm going to pull the trigger, I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to pursue my passion. You get your website, you get your logo, you're technically in business, but there's no money coming in. So there's a lot of highs and lows. And I know this from running a business. There's a lot of highs and lows, but there's more lows than there are highs, especially as you're making that climb. So how do you get over that initial fear?
Again, I'm so all or nothing. Everyone who knows me, I won't dabble. So I think it probably easily took me over 12 months. I have this, Microsoft OneNote, and now most people use Evernote, but I would go home and after work, I'd be in the gym trying to lift or do some CrossFit just to get my mind off stuff. But I'd take time out and I just write. I'd have these little epiphanies, at least I thought. And I start writing everything down, and I do that. And then I go research just different aspects of the business model as I'm putting it together. And it took me 12 months, I think, to get the courage and build up a nest egg and just say, talk with enough people and mentors and advisors and say, I can do this. Everyone else, of course, they're like, oh, you're being a sissy. What are you waiting for? Just dive in. It's not that hard. And, but when I have a house and mortgage on the line, and you just don't want to fail in front of your peers and friends. So getting to that point was tough. Once I crossed it, I don't think I've ever doubted myself. It's, 3 years it's been about 3 years. And yeah, I probably hit 20 different times where, near death experiences, and it has not been easy at all. You doubt yourself. Yeah. It's just keep hustling.
Wow. Tell us what near death experience to
so
you.
It's easy, I think, to gravitate towards tangible. So, financial. So bootstrapping, there's a few ways to bootstrap. So bootstrap as a consultant, you're crushing out hourly. You're still an entrepreneur. You're pushing out there, but there's not that risk. When you're trying to start an enterprise B2B software platform and you're against venture funded companies, it's unbelievable the amount of financial strain. So those are the type of bottlenecks I ran up against, trying to find the right people and paying consultants and paying your attorneys, and, it goes on. So you don't even think about paying your bills or what type of ramen you're going to eat, because that's all you're eating. I've eaten turkey sandwiches for 2 years in a row for lunch. So you just, you delay the gratification. You just focus on where you're going and you don't worry about it. You get smashed down, every day and every week, but it's part of the journey.
Yeah, I can't honestly tell you how much that resonates with me. I was telling Carlos earlier, because I was getting my MBA earlier this year, and I ran to a point where I was bootstrapping, like you said, and then I was $20,000 in debt because I'm going to get my MBA, right? And it was in the beginning of the year where you're supposed to be celebrating New Year's, your new goals, New Year's resolution. I'm thinking, I got to pay college, I got to build a business. Am I a consultant? Am I an entrepreneur? All these questions you're asking yourself, and then. It's like you said, the turkey sandwich every day in a month. Mine was like rice and chicken.
Mine was mac and cheese.
Like mac and cheese. Yeah, so it was that.
The three options.
Exactly. So it's you're playing the long game, and that just reminds me, like you said, if you don't have that fire, you're not going to stay in it. And for me, it was the passion, the fire. I always say fire, passion, the same thing. If you don't remember why you're doing what you're doing, it's going to be tough for you to stick through it, because there will be tough times. And if you don't handle those tough times the way you're supposed to, you're gonna break under the crumble. And I think that's good that you bring that. But Roberto has some questions in the audience. He has a couple of good ones I actually think are good. He says, also, while the average person wouldn't do a startup, do you believe that financial freedom is attainable for them if they become
without a
educated?
doubt. I actually, can relate to that. In college, I sat around one night. We had this debate with me and like 5 friends, and we all come from different walks of life. And one of my buddies from Chicago, he really said he didn't think so. He didn't think like where you come from, your background, that you can necessarily always get ahead. And while I respect everyone, I think no matter where you come from, you can improve your life at some capacity. So if you have a dream and you have a fire in your belly, Carlos said he didn't get his MBA. He didn't go to school, but look at what he's doing. What he's doing. Yeah. This is unbelievable. Yeah, if you have a will, you put yourself around the right people. It's not as hard as you think it is. It's really put one foot in front of the other and do not quit. Just do not quit for years. And pretty soon you'll look up and you'll say, how did I get on top of this mountain? And then where's the next peak I can get to?
Absolutely. And the reason I was saying that, to me, education is not just, the brick and mortar school type of system. Because like I said, Carlos and I, different walks, my family background different. I did the whole thing I was supposed to do. I did the whole MBA thing. It's not, and I didn't do anything that I got my MBA in. And luckily, I paid off all the debt. But I was like, I was thinking, but Carlos didn't finish high school.
I didn't finish high school to go ahead and top it off.
Exactly.
Getting my GED. And I tell you, it's not because I didn't like school. It's not because I wasn't a good student. I wanted to get out and work. Like my parents have always owned businesses, and I grew up in a very nice upbringing, and I saw nice things, and I always just had this drive in me of I want to work. I don't want to do what all my friends are going to do, which is spend 4 years in college, party, drink. Those 4 years were my head start over people. And hey, not taking anything away from anyone else that goes down the traditional path, but it just wasn't for me. And, I credit this. I would love to hear what you guys think. I credit what I've done to the 4 Ps, which is passion, persistence, persuasion, and perseverance. And if you have those qualities, especially you got to be persistent. You got to knock on doors, because you are going to be told no a lot of times. And you know this, Matt, because you're starting up a business for yourself, or you've started one up. You're going to be told no a lot of times, but you just got to continue to persevere and challenge through it and be persistent, because as soon as you give up, I can guarantee there's someone else that's going to come up right behind you and steal your thunder.
Yeah. And then before you get to that, Matt, did you have another point you wanted to bring before that? Because I know you were talking about the education part.
No, I think Carlos, I think has a much better response than I did for that. But yeah, absolutely. If people have the passion, I like how you said the 4 Ps. There's another guy I really look up to in terms of just his technology and SaaS experience. His name is Mark Schuster. If you guys take a look at him, but his amazing blogs, and he writes about, I think it's like the 10 characteristics of entrepreneurs that they look for. And everybody thinks you have to have this, Ivy League pedigree, and you have to have this IQ that jumps out of the roof. But his were really, it's simple things that you just said. It's tenacity, it's persistence, it's integrity. It's things that we can control. And, you two have it. That's why when Tyler reached out, he's like, hey, we're doing this blog. You guys are so genuine and passionate and emotional about what you do. And that's who I want to surround myself with. And I love it.
Yep. That's really important to surround yourself with the right people. And, that's really what we're looking to drive home with the podcast. So many people out there are looking for ways to be motivated. They're looking for inspiration. And you know what? If we can use this as a vehicle to come together and inspire at least one person a week out there, then you know what? Mission accomplished. So we're going to keep moving here with the questions. Ty, I'm going to throw it back to you, my man.
All right. Well, yeah, I don't know how much you know about me, Matt, and my passion for travel. I'm Nigerian, and I grew up in 5 countries, 5 continents. 4 continents. One of those continents that I didn't visit is Australia, and that's one of the places I want to go. But I know you have a personal journey. You were a junior in college, and you took this trip to Australia. and it had this life-changing effect on you. And I'm one that vouches for how much travel opens your mind. But I want you to kind of talk about that and how that sort of set the path for you, because junior in college, 20 years old each, like traveling,
So,
and then deciding
for me,
this path.
it was a very emotional experience. I think all the way up until that point, I had, pretty strict parents and upbringing. I had coaches my entire life. You always had an authoritative figure telling you what to do. So when I told my parents, I was in college, I was a captain of the soccer team. Hey, I'm going to go study abroad for Australia. My dad's like, whoa, you're going to lose your position on the team. You're not doing that. And I came back like a week later. I'm like, here's a presentation of why. Here's like the financial model. It actually saves money. And I actually put down the down payment. So I'm going in 2 months. And, I just went. And when I got down there, it was the first time in my entire life where there was, just no incumbents on me. I just felt free. As we started interacting with just people from other cultures all over the world down there. And you just have to relate and learn a lot about who you are as a person. And it's perfect kind of transition from college to you're starting to go, you realize you're going to have to go and get your own professional identity. So for me, it was a place to actually slow down, and you're looking out on the ocean, the most serene settings. And I just, life finally slowed down, and I could take a breath and look out and just figure out what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go in life. And so it wasn't just about the experience and the people and everything. It was the perfect time in life to slow down and just, be at peace with myself.
Right. Yeah. Time is everything. And one of the things that I love that you just said is, you got exposed, right? You'd been used to this, rudimentary structure, the system. I went to boarding school. I went to all the other structures like you. I was into sports and all that. But one constant that I always found, whether I was conscious of it or not, was when I was traveling, my curiosity was I was tapping into that more, and I was seeing a lot more. And I never realized it until recently before I started the company I was like, it actually helped foster my creativity. It made me braver in many ways, because you're in this foreign environment, you're thinking you can either find a way to connect with these people or you're going to be just foreign and it's going to show. Right. So, and I always think that when I talk to people, I think travel and culture can apply to business in so many ways. It's if they just apply it in the right way, because whether it's trying to come up with creativity or looking at different ways to solve problems, it comes down to some of the experiences you deal with. You're lost in the city. You're trying to find a way. How do you creatively think of someone to say something? How do you use the 2 words you only know in another foreign language to stretch it into like 5 sentences that takes you on to 30 minutes walk, right? So I think that experience, maybe as you grow older, you start to realize that Australia experience is something that was really profound in your life, and something that you go back to all the time.
My fiance,
is that true?
Soon to be wife, she'll, if somebody asks you if you could ever go back to any point in time in your life, and everyone's thought about it. Some people think high school was, people that were living legends back then. But for me, it was the only time I ever would. Right now, I'm very happy where I am in life. I actually would go back to that 6-month period in Australia. It was, life-changing.
Love it.
Excellent. Hey, you know what? I want to know, Matt, tell us 3 people that inspire you.
So, back when Tayo and I interviewed last, I spoke about my grandma, and my grandma, I messed this up last time by a couple of years, and she got on me for it too. But I think I said she was 92. I think she's 90. She, grew up in the Great Depression. She's just the rock and inspiration for our whole family. Talk about like hard work and integrity. And so, yeah, her without a doubt. My fiance, she's, we're soon to be getting married here in December. So she's, my better half. And, I just want to make her proud. I want to, assuming we have kids, I want to make them proud and just, come through for them. So they inspire me. But then I think, in terms of internal drive, I'm sure we can all relate. It's not usually things that are painful or emotional, or the challenges are what drive you most. So I would put, I won't say his name, but I'll put a coach I had when I was, 14 in soccer. I think I had a coach for all through high school, but I don't know what it was. There's a different vendetta. But I couldn't do anything right. And it was, it's at the time I was at one of the top club teams in the whole state. We played regionals and nationals. So it was a high level. And as a young man, you look up to your coaches as leaders, and they should lead you and give you positive reinforcement and get the best out of you. And I really struggled at that point in life. It kicked me down a lot. It broke my confidence in front of my peers. And I lost my passion and love for something that was my only passion, soccer at the time. So anytime in life, I've actually used that. When I was working out, when I was starting businesses, I have a chip on my shoulder. My dad even said it, and it's fine. I'm going to prove anybody who's put their foot on my head for my goals or where I want to get, I'm going to prove them wrong. And it's a good driver for me. So it works.
Absolutely.
I love it, man. Love it. It's that Tom Brady effect. 6th round, get picked in the 6th round. And destroying Carlos' team, the Jaguars.
I was going to chime in, with the coach angle. That really resonates with me. I played football when I was a kid, and junior high football, 6th grade. I was an overweight kid. I wasn't a good athlete. Kids used to pick on me all the time, and I used to want to quit. And my coach, his name's Coach T. He was almost like a big brother to me. And would come over to my house, hang out, and really instilled in me that when you start something, you just don't quit. Even if you're not the best, you just push your way through. And that's one of those things that's kind of carried, along with me. So, man, awesome to hear. Ty, I'm really curious, who's maybe one or two people that inspire you or kind of keep that drive going?
Oh, I mean, besides family, you already know my love for Nelson Mandela and Oprah, but right. So I'm going to put them on a higher echelon there, but it's, currently probably, LeBron, and I love what Seth Godin does. So I think what Seth Godin does with marketing and life hacking is inspirational. Right. And LeBron came at a time for me when he was in high school and I was in middle school. I was in Burkina Faso at the time. And, I was like this kid. It was my first time really interacting with Europeans and Americans, and I was like trying to fit in. I had several accents I was juggling to fit in, and sports is my gateway to fit it in. But the only thing I knew was soccer. Matt, I'm sure you appreciate this because that was my first love. So I had to quickly learn how to play basketball, tennis, and the other football I discovered, which I still think there's one type of football, but anyway. We'll get to that. So I had to learn all those things. And it was a time, and I was looking at him being the cover of a magazine and then watching him grow, continue to not only meet the hype or surpass the hype. And that just was inspirational to me because I feel like a lot of people get that hype, but not necessarily everyone gets that. And there've been a lot of things where people can say, I don't like LeBron for this, I don't like LeBron for that. But then it's how you push through that. And that's always what I look for. And he's done that. So that's my thing there. But then, Oprah, obviously. I can Oprah.
Inspired by LeBron. Hey, totally get it, man. Matt, one thing that really stood out to me is, you mentioned family. I was going to ask you, earlier on, tell us a little bit more about you on a personal side, and you had mentioned that you have a fiance. And, one thing I say is, at least for myself, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way, we're all building a legacy. We're all authors of our own book. Chapters are being written every year, every time we make milestones in our life. So I love hearing a guy like you, you're so humble about it, talking about how your fiance, future wife, she inspires you. She helps keep that drive and, forward looking your kids. And I can tell you as a father of 2 kids, that's what it's all about, man, is, you want to go ahead and lay these bricks for them to follow in that path, because someday you're going to be long gone, and it's that legacy.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I love how you said that, these are chapters of your life. And, Tayo, I think that was the one takeaway I had from Australia is I learned the opportunity cost of my time. And if you can, whatever you can do in life, you only have a set, we don't know when we're going to leave this earth. You have a time in life. And if you can get more value out of anything you're doing, today, this week, this month, why would you not make that choice to do so? So in terms of leaving a legacy and why the people inspire me most who are in my circle is I'm not doing this to be on magazines and I'm doing this for myself and to get reach my greatest potential. And I'm doing it for my wife and my kids and my family. And, and that's really what drives me. So I don't, while I'm inspired and I read and I always follow people that are famous. It's more about learning from them versus who really drive me.
No,
you always
I love it because not once have you mentioned your drive is inspired by money. And I think those that think about money as being the object as to why they work are the ones that fail the quickest. Because money, it's going to come and go. Money is an object that you are going to acquire, but you also have to give it back to continue to grow your business. So, man, just love the drive that you got. And, I want to kind of bring this kind of full circle back around to your business. So, your product is, applicant tracking system, ATS. So tell us a little bit about the type of clients that you sell to. My guess is that they would be, HR practitioners, but tell us a little bit about the clients that you sell into. Who's an ideal client and what are you doing?
Amazing questions. Now that you put me on the spot. So, as a founder, you have to balance your vision, and, as an elevator pitch, what is Loxo? And of course, today, we're an applicant tracking system. The long-term aim of Loxo, we want to help ambitious people reach their greatest potential. Just like I'm driven by that. I'm passionate by that. So our platform helps recruiters and organizations identify the best candidates for open positions. So, as I alluded to earlier, every executive, every boardroom, their top 3 challenges they'll go around are saying, how are we finding the top talent? And just to illustrate how big of a problem this is, there's actually a lot of noise in the industry right now about recruiters and agencies popping up recruiting recruiters. So every company cannot find talent. In terms of what Loxo is doing, when we took a look at the space, it's hyper competitive. There's 100 different ATSs and CRMs, and that's a platform where you put your candidates and resumes and you store them and keep the communications. So as a business model, Loxo, we sell to recruiters and companies. It's mostly focused on agencies and staffing firms. Long-term, any company who has a job opening can use Loxo and we'll help them find the best candidates. Yeah, so we've
a job board as well?
it seems forever, but we've taken 3 years. We've really built out the platform. But yeah, post one click, you can post jobs and syndicate it out to job boards. We've built a lot of different integrations all over the web. So it basically helps recruiters do what they used to be able to do. And, they can get 10x more done in the same amount of time.
Are you involved, if you don't mind me asking, are you involved in SHRM, which is a Society of Human Resource Management, or any specific organizations that you are a member of or that you network with to try to help you source business?
We just started pushing it. So organizations can be your best friend, and when you're just getting started, they'll be your biggest supporter, where it takes a while to break in. And it's it's a small industry, so first impression is everything. So it's it takes a while for us to get into the market, but now we're doing a massive, very aggressive nationwide sales campaign. Not to pat myself in the back too much, but again, it was all about the hustle. The first 2 years, I thought we were going to near death. Yeah, but now we've been growing 50% month over month since January. In the last 2 months, I thought we were near death, but now in the last 2 months, we made more money than the entire rest of the year. So it looks like, it's our huge breakout right now. So it's kind of an exciting time for us.
No, that's such amazing to hear. And that's what it's always darkest before it's done, right? People always say that. And, you said you were at that point and now you're experiencing all these things. And, Carlos and Matt, Fridays are one of my favorite days. One of the reasons is because it's Shark Tank Day. Now, I am channeling my inner Mark Cuban here, or not Mr. Wonderful, but one of the other guests. If you were on Shark Tank, what would your 30-second, 15-second elevator pitch be? Why the companies need to pay attention to you? You're experiencing this growth, 50%. It's growing. Why do we need to pay attention to you?
Thanks a lot, Tyler.
What is the pitch? I know.
So I think I've already spoken about a lot of this, but I'll wrap it all up. So 30 seconds. So Loxo helps recruiters and organizations identify the best possible candidates for any job. We're in a 400 billion global market, so just a massive market space. We've grown over 50% month over month since January. I'd say we're the David versus Goliath. So right now we're actually winning customers from the Goliath. They have 30 recruiters and 30 engineers.
Mm-hmm.
We're winning market share from them. So, our product roadmap, where we're at, is just the tip of the iceberg, and we're starting to break out. So it's, definitely pay attention to us in this space. I think, Loxo is also, we're at the epicenter of a lot of different technological shifts. So I think this window is only open for a limited amount of time. That's why we're attacking it. My co-founder and I we have a rare skill set, the right ingredients to attack it. And we're really passionate about helping people, reach their greatest potential. So, it's something we care about deeply. It's a huge market, and we think we're going to win.
All right. Well, so I'm going to send over the details, and then we'll get the VC funding going. Right? So,
I want to probe a little bit there, though, Matt. So tell us, ideally, who's your target customer? Is it an enterprise brand that has hundreds of jobs to fill? Is it small and medium business? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I could talk about this exact thing, and I'm a part of entrepreneurial groups here in Denver, and we talk about this every week. Trying to keep it nice and tight and succinct. Your product evolves, your model evolves, and Google came out and they were a search engine, right? And look at they have self-driving cars, and they do anything and everything. They're in healthcare. So our customers today, our beachhead market, to help us get scale and do the right thing, it's laser focused. It's built for recruiters who get it, who know how to recruit. So you can use our tool today if you're in an enterprise or if you're an agency, but it's really nice and lean. It's like the Apple. We call it, a lot of our customers said that, and we latched onto it. Loxo is like the beautiful, elegant, modern Apple in this archaic industry. So we just give that to people, and the recruiters who know how to recruit and find passive headhunters, that's who love it. Down the road, hopefully we'll start moving into different verticals and helping other people.
Excellent.
Okay.
And before we go ahead and wrap up, Matt, where can someone find you? Where can they learn more about Loxo? Most importantly, how can the hustle culture community support you?
It's amazing. I think.
Yep.
You can find me on social media, on LinkedIn, obviously Twitter. Please reach out. I'm always available. Love talking with people. In terms of supporting, just please keep an eye on us. And if ways that you can support us, love to chat. Obviously I'm always looking to help partner and spend my time with like-minded people. So I appreciate you guys having me, taking some time to learn about, and I love what you guys are doing. So keep helping people and talking about the hustle, because that's the hardest and most important part.
Love it. And I have one great question left before you go, because it just came in from our man Roberto. It says, do you feel more people should connect with headhunters and recruiters to advance themselves?
I think headhunters and recruiters have this, everybody just thinks it's kind of this rotten business, and it's really not. They're some of the smartest and most passionate people I've ever met. And just like any business, there's good cops, there's bad cops. But the high level, recruiters can be your best resource. They understand it. They have access to underground jobs. Their network is unbelievable. And most of them are really good people. So if you're not leveraging them, you're missing out on finding your next job. So definitely use them, tap into them, and just, take ownership of your own career path and let them know what you want. They'll help you.
All right. Well, with that being said, I just want to thank you for coming on the show, Matt. I really, you can't honestly, I can't express how much I appreciate you coming on, and even with the time change. So thank you for coming, sharing your story.
It's been a great interview. And I got to say, every week, our guests keep raising the bar higher and higher and higher. And this is just
you guys
an
are
awesome interview.
Yeah, no, this has been the best one we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to take anything away from our previous guests, because they were amazing as well. But this has been just a really solid interview, and we thank you. We're going to keep, supporting you. Anyone that's listening on iTunes right now, give my man a follow at Matt_Chambers. His company, check them out as well. Loxo, it's LOXO, and I know we're gonna definitely cross paths, and hopefully be able to have you on again.
Oh, it's Loxo.co.co. We actually had some squatter in the Philippines that would not sell it to me. I tried, but Loxo.co. And yeah, thank you guys so much again for, taking the time, being interested, and, please keep doing what you guys are doing.
Cool.
Yeah, appreciate
it. All right, my man.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Have a lovely one. Hey, enjoy Denver, Colorado. Maybe Peyton and we'll have a stronger arm this
you guys
week.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
All right, guy. See ya.
Bye.
So we're going to transition into our last segment, which is called the Hustler Spotlight. And this is where Tayo and I are going to just give a shout out to someone that we feel is doing big things. Hey, it could even be a future guest on the Hustle Culture podcast. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my main man here, Tayo. Take it away with the Hustler's Spotlight.
All right. So the Hustler I'm spotlighting today, this week, is Ivan Raiklin. Ivan Raiklin is this guy that so I met him at a conference. It's funny, I didn't even know that we were Blab friends, but I met him at a conference, a podcast conference I was speaking at. And, this guy comes up to me and says, hey, how you doing? I'm Ivan. And I says, he asked me what my podcast is and what I do. I said, at the time, Hustle Culture Podcast wasn't fully on iTunes. I was like, I host As Told by Nomads. It features third culture kids, entrepreneurs, and people that identify with several cultures. We talk about global issues and how to really create a culturally aware generations. And then his next thing blew me away. He's like, when are you going to interview me? I was like, wait. I was like, yo, we just met. What was going on? It's like, no, seriously, when are you going to interview me? We can do it right now. I was like, and I'm mid-stammering, and he goes, just keeps like guiding me this way. So all of a sudden I find myself walking with him outside of the conference towards his car. And I'm saying to myself, how am I doing? What am I doing? And he goes, yes, I'm serious. We can do this interview right now. I got 2 iPhones and I got this mic that he put on here. And then as he goes, he starts to tell me his crazy story. Like he's been like a pseudo diplomat, military guy, traveled, speaks like 5 different languages. And I'm like, that's what, okay, it makes sense. And I'm all the time, I'm so impressed while we're doing this. And he opens up his trunk and then he pulls out his 2 iPhones and the mics. I'm like, this guy's not kidding. It's like, yo, let's do it. He's so energetic. So I hop on Snapchat, like, yo, we're about to do this. And then we get into the backseat of his car while the conference is going on. I'm mic'd up, he's mic'd up, and we record the interview. And it's crazy. And one of the best interviews I've ever had. But I was impressed by just the hustle. Like, he just killed the intro was amazing. It was charismatic enough. He got me. That was the first time I'd ever recorded a podcast without actually, most times I use Skype, and this was just on location.
In the backseat of a car, nonetheless.
Yeah. He taught me a few things. Always be ready and never underestimate people. So
yeah, Ivan Raiklin, he's a really cool dude. So I actually got a chance to meet him and hang out with him a couple times over the last week. So he came out here to the Bay Area for work. And I've seen Ivan here on Blab. He's definitely popped up on the social media radar as of late. And, what really impressed me about him is he reached out. And again, this is a practice that I do myself when I go to other cities. I try to see who lives in that market, who, is on social media and is active. And he reached out to me to meet up. And we wound up spending this just amazing time on Friday night. Not last night, but the Friday before with Brian Fanzo, who many of you might know. And, Ivan just struck me as one of those characters of he's always creative juices are flowing, always thinking of how he can do the next big thing. I don't want to go ahead and steal his thunder because we want to get him here on the show, but he was just throwing some things out there around live streaming and connecting, borders throughout the U.S. or removing borders, across the world through live stream. And definitely follow him. But I'm going to throw out there his hustle that he threw at me. I get a text yesterday from Ivan, and he's at a conference here in San Francisco where he's trying to win a grant. And he's like, hey, dude, do me a favor and tweet this out in the next 30 minutes and help me. So I go on his Twitter.
I got that.
I go on his Twitter, and he's like literally copy and pasted the same message to like 100 other people. And normally I would be like, nah, I'm not going to do that because you literally – just copied and pasted and sent the same message over and over again and whatever. But the fact that he texted me, to me actually meant something. And granted, he might have probably texted you but he's a good guy. And I went ahead and helped him out. And you know what? He wound up winning the grant, which is just phenomenal. Again, like that's a hustler. You can't leave any stone unturned. Just like we are out now knocking on doors to get people subscribed to the Hustle Culture podcast. We're trying to get reviews on the podcast. He's hustling to get his, and I tip my hat off to him.
Absolutely. And he sent me a text later on because he sent the same text. He sent me a text saying, thank you. Well, he does voice record it. Hey, thank you for, for doing that. We actually won. So that's one of the things that, he might have copy and pasted it to everybody, but at least he acknowledged both and all that. But, we are asking you guys if you could take, 15 to 20 seconds. It doesn't take that much to leave a review of the podcast if you like it. It's on iTunes now. I think Carlos had put the link up there, but I'm not.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you my hustler that I want to spotlight for this week, and it's funny because Kiki, aka Wu-Tang Bunny, just jumped in the room. So my hustler that I want to spotlight for this week is none other than the man Jim Keenan, aka also known as @Keenan. He runs a company out of Colorado also, which is a Sales Guy Inc. He's a world-renowned sales trainer, and this guy is always bringing the energy, always bringing the fire, bringing the hustle to sales. I want to get him here on the show. I know we're working on making that happen, but he reached out to me earlier this week. We're connected on all the social networks, and he actually reached out to me by phone to talk to me about his book that is going to be forthcoming, and just asked me very simple to review his book and let him know what I think. And again, I love when hustlers bring their community together. They take conversations from online to offline. I think that's how you do it. And, throughout the conversation, we talked about a few things. One, talked about his book, when it's coming out, and we're going to give him a platform here on the Hustle Culture podcast for him to go ahead and share all that content around his book launch, I believe in the next month or so. So, Jim Keenan, aka @Keenan on Twitter. Follow him. You will not regret it because I'm telling you, this guy brings the energy each and every single day.
Bam. And with that being said, we'll want to thank you all for coming on the show. Can you put the iTunes link up there so they can know where?
Yeah, so I'm dropping, for those of you that are watching us right now on Blab, I just dropped a link. And for those of you that are listening on iTunes, we thank you so much. Subscribe to the show. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think. If you love the show, let us know. If you don't like the show, let us know too, because that's the only way that we can improve, right? It's through reviews. So before we sign off, just want to say thank you to all of you hustlers out there for jamming out with us once again on Blab. Again, if you're listening on iTunes, thank you. We could not make this show happen without all of you out there. Follow us now on Twitter @BringTheHustle. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my co-host.
All right. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Hustle Culture. We're multimedia. We're going everywhere, people. And thank you all. Thank you all for coming to the show. I think you all can, we benefited from having Matt's presence here. Remember, it's darkest before it's dawn. But the most important thing is use your difference to make a difference. Peace.